People talk about awakening a lot, but for beginners it can sound a bit vague or a bit mystical. What is awakening, really?
Awakening is much simpler than people think. It begins when something you believed to be true is suddenly seen differently. A belief, an assumption, or a story that was quietly running your life comes into light. And once you see that it was never really true, it no longer has power over you. That is the beginning of awakening.
Can you give a simple everyday example?
Yes, think about having a child, for example. Before you have one, it is mostly an idea. You think you understand it, you have an opinion about it, you make judgments about what parenting should be like. But when it becomes real, life opens in a completely new way. You are no longer thinking about parenting, you are living it. And because of that, you understand love differently, fear differently, responsibility differently. The truth was always there, but now you are living it. Awakening is like that. You move from ideas and opinions about what you think is true into direct experience. And in that experience, something real is revealed.
So what makes spiritual awakening different?
In truth, it is not so different. It is spirituality lived from the inside, not merely held as an idea. Spiritual awakening turns inward. It begins when you start to see what has been shaping your life from the inside out, not the outside in. This is the ancient invitation philosophers and mystics have offered for centuries. Know thyself. Many people think they are spiritual. They may meditate, they may go to church, they may hold spiritual beliefs, but that doesn't always mean they know themselves and are awakened to what drives them unconsciously. Just as you cannot truly know what it means to be a parent through ideas alone, you cannot live spiritually fully as theory alone. It has to become embodied, it has to become lived. And that is the difference. What feels like a response to life is often still a reaction shaped by old patterns that have never been seen clearly because they are unconscious. Old fears, survival patterns, beliefs about who you need to be in order to feel safe, loved, or accepted. Because these patterns are unconscious, they are rarely recognized as patterns. They are experienced as identity, as personality, as, well, this is my human nature, sometimes even as fate. But when you finally recognize what was once unseen, you no longer mistake it for truth. You move from assumption of knowing yourself into realization of your true nature. This is where awakening begins.
And that connects with Carl Jung's quote, doesn't it?
Very much. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That is one of the clearest descriptions of awakening I know. What feels like fate is often something unconscious, quietly shaping your reactions from underneath. Awakening begins when you realize that what you thought were simply your reactions may in fact have been patterns causing you to react rather than respond all along.
How do you explain that in your own work?
Because these unconscious patterns can be difficult to see clearly, I have represented them as kingdoms. Each kingdom shows how specific fears shape the way you react in order to survive. From those fears, strategies are formed, and over time, those strategies are mistaken for identity. In truth, you are unaware they are merely strategies. You simply think, this is me. Awakening begins when that strategy is seen as strategy rather than identity. When you realize this reaction is not who I truly am. This pattern, it's not my true self. It is a survival response. And when that is clearly seen, you begin to move from reacting to responding.
So awakening is not about becoming someone new?
No, and it helps to see that clearly. Awakening is not about becoming someone special, it's not about becoming perfect, and it is not about escaping ordinary life. It is about seeing clearly what has been shaping you in the darkness of the unconscious. I think of it as walking at night with a lantern in your hand. You see only a few steps ahead and think, is that all there is? Then the sun rises and the path is revealed in a greater context, depth, beauty, vastness. Awakening is like that. It is seeing with new eyes, not because life has changed, but because awareness has dawned. And once you have seen this clearly, you approach life differently. You begin to walk differently. You now ask, what am I not seeing yet? What will awareness reveal this time? And most importantly, you now trust the path, even when you do not understand its greater context yet. Something deeper begins to appear, not something new, but something more original, a deeper quality of being that was there before the pattern and underneath it all along. In my work, I call this the totem or the sacred garden of essence. It is the part of us that fear did not create, only obscure. So, awakening is not only about seeing through the pattern, it is also about remembering what has always been there beneath it. It is the shift from living as a reaction to living from what is true within.
And what is the great realization at the heart of awakening?
At the heart of it all is a very simple realization. Nothing essential was ever lost. Nothing was taken. What you truly are may have been obscured by fear, protection, performance, or control, but it was never destroyed. Awakening is not self improvement, it is recognition, it is remembering of what you are beneath the pattern. It is the return from spirituality as concept to spirituality as lived experience and reality.
If you had to explain awakening to a beginner in one sentence, what would you say?
Awakening is when what has been unconsciously running your life becomes visible, and in that seeing, you begin to remember what you truly are.
And if you had to say it even more simply?
Awakening is when you begin to see clearly what used to run your life in the shadows.
Can you help us understand what the purpose of awakening actually is?
It isn't to become someone else. It isn't to become perfect. It is to stop living as though fear and reactivity were in charge, and to remember what was there before fear took the throne. The freedom to be yourself and the freedom to simply be. Perhaps that is why a line often attributed to Rumi still rings so true. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself.
And if you had a final message you would like to share with the listeners of the Awakening channel?
I would say that awakening is woven into human life. Again and again, we discover that what we imagined to be true is not the same as what is revealed in lived experience. Spiritual awakening is like that. We can have many ideas about spirituality, but when attention turns inward and self-knowledge begins to deepen, something becomes real. That was once only an idea or an opinion. Spirituality is no longer something we think about. It becomes something we live, something embodied, something known from within. And that is a journey I want to take people on, a journey of self-discovery through which spirituality and our connection to the divine can be experienced as living reality.
And for people who want to explore that journey with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Awakening channel on YouTube and on my website, artisanofawakening.com.